All right, y'all, this episode is special for a couple of reasons. First of all, this is episode 250 of Heavy Metal Philosophy. Thank you so much for everybody who's been here along the way. It has been a long and yet seems like it was just yesterday sort of journey, and I am absolutely thrilled. I never expected for the things that have happened over these years to happen. It's been crazy, so thank you. But it's not just about that. It is Album of the Year season after all, and this episode we are celebrating the best death metal albums of 2025. I alluded to it last week on the best black metal albums of 2025 that we were changing up the formula. Well, as per usual, I couldn't pick just 5 death metal albums. There's just too many good ones. But I didn't want to do what I did last year and pick 10. So I thought, why don't I get one of my colleagues to also pick 5, and then that way that person's 5 picks will be a lot different than my 5 picks, and we will talk about why we picked them, for what reason, and our differences and our agreements about these records. It'll be a fun exercise. So I'm happy to say, join me on episode 250 of Heavy Metal Philosophy, a double dose of the top 5 best death metal albums of 2025. Scott Lowry, my colleague from Metal Digest, cheers and welcome to
buddy.
Heavy Metal Philosophy.
Thank you very much for having me, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited talking death metal.
Yeah, I'm stoked about it too. And it's interesting because this is the format we're doing it in. You picked your 5 favorite from the year, and I picked my 5 favorite from the year. And I looked at your picks and I was like, my man is more of a true death metal fan than I am.
I was actually surprised a little bit I thought for sure one of mine was definitely going to be on your list. And I'll talk about it when I get to that specific one. So I was surprised when I saw your list and that one wasn't there. And we had none that were the same, which is great because it, gives us more to talk about. So it should be cool. I literally spent the last, week and a half just listening to these 10 albums, basically making sure they were all ingrained in my mind for tonight. So I'm ready to go.
I'm really glad to start with your number 5 because this one's real interesting to me. Empty Throne with Unholy, which, by the way, really cool album art on this one.
Yeah.
But it must have really struck a chord with you because this one released in late January. I see 2 release dates, so they must have done a digital and a physical release, which probably confuses matters too. But January 31st and February 28th are the 2 release dates I have banned out of Sweden. So for a record to release in January and as many records as you listen to all year long, this one must have really stuck with you.
So and I don't think they're from. I think they're from all over the U.S. because I was looking it up, and it's one of those things. Like it stuck with me for sure. I didn't even realize until I think today I was looking up when all of my albums actually came out in the year, and I saw January 31st, and I was like, holy shit, I've had that on my list for 11 months. That's kind of wild, and it was just one of those. I knew I really liked it because it was different. And it's the only one we were talking, earlier at the start of this where you were saying now I stuck with like the kind of traditional death metal. This is the one on my list that's not really. This one has got the blackened stuff. It's got a little bit of thrashy maybe. Mm-hmm. And because on the archives, they're listed as melodic blackened thrash. Melodic blackened death metal. And but for me, it's like when you listen to it, it's death metal. Like it's death metal. It's got some, longer songs. Like it's only 6 tracks and they're longer tracks, right? They're all like 6-7 minutes kind of thing. So it has like maybe in the black metal, way it has kind of that going for it, but it's like, it's heavy as hell. The vocals are death metal vocals. I mean, come on. But it has that atmosphere, like the one track That Day Has Come, I think it's called. Has that like kind of eerie piano that kicks it off, but then it goes right into death metal riffs and death metal vocals. The one thing where it does definitely, it's definitely black metal is there's a cover by Immortal on there, so you can't really hide behind the this is definitely a death metal record when there's an Immortal cover on there. But I mean, it's an awesome song, so it's good. But the drummer in Empty Throne, he's also the drummer for Abigail Williams.
Oh wow, okay.
He's played live with a Bath or a Bat, however the fuck you say his name. The guitarist used to be in Possessed. So like they're kind of, it's actually like dudes that have been in the music industry. And I saw actually too that Jack Owen, Cannibal Corpse, 6 Feet Under fame, played with them for a little while. I don't think he's on the record, but he played with them. And Mike Williams, the old Suffocation drummer, played with them for a little while before the current guy came in. So they've kind of like, they got pedigree. Whereas like, and I honestly didn't even know that until recently. I've liked this album all year long, but didn't like, do the in-depth homework on it. I was just listening to it thinking, oh, this is great. And then when, I'm looking it up and stuff like that for this video and I see, holy shit, it's got this guy's from this band, this guy's from this band. So they're one of those bands where like, I liked it thinking this was some like underground young band. And then when you look into it last second before we start filming, and they're, they got chops and it shows.
Yep. There's a lot of great guitar work on this one, that classic melodeath feel. But as you said, it's very blackened. It's very blasphemous. I mean, it's named Unholy. There's a goat on the cover.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you see the album art, it's pretty
very deicide. Speaking of deicide, and I think that's one thing we do have in common on our list is we didn't pick just like the stereotypical like blood and guts death metal. Like people forget death metal had a lot of blasphemy in it too before the second wave of black metal.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, deicide is Glenn Benton's the poster child for satanic death metal,
All right, let's do my number 5. And speaking of records that stuck with me all year long, like a lot of these picks, especially on my thrash metal episode last week, most of them came like later in the year. So for an album to come out early in the year and then you still think about it at the end of the year, it really speaks highly of it. So I'm going with Dormant Ordeal, which came out April 18th. The record is Tooth and Nail. It's a Polish death metal band. And to me, they're like really high-minded death metal. Again, not about like zombies and serial killers. And it got a real unique sound like Ulcerate meets Behemoth.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, just right off the bat, not going to, bury the lead. This is my favorite album of your 5 albums. Like I loved this, and I hadn't heard this one yet until you gave me your list. This is one, I think there's 2 out of your 5 that I hadn't actually even listened to yet. And this one just blew me away. I was just like, holy shit. The first riff, or not the first riff, but like after that intro track, the first song, Halo of Bones, that like main riff that kicks in like a minute into the song or whatever it is that goes along with the verse, man, if that doesn't like, I don't know, shorten your pants a little bit, if you know what I'm saying, like then I don't know what does, because that fucking riff kicks ass. And the last song too, whatever it's called, something about silence being trivial or something like that. Like that song is more like kind of, that song sounds like a 1914 song, by the way. Like it almost like it could be a 1914 song. That song was awesome too. This album was great, but definitely like one of those I hadn't heard yet, so I threw it on last week, and blew me away. I loved it.
Yeah, when a big death metal band drops an album like Cannibal Corpse, whatever, like you don't have to like, I don't have to be like, all right, take note of this for the end of the year. You know what I mean?
You know what it is.
It's going to be there. So when this one dropped, I was like, Dormant Ordeal. I had not heard of this band before. And after I heard it, I was so impressed with it that I wrote it down on a notepad. Like, you stick your little sticky notes on your computer monitor. It's been on my monitor since April 18th because I knew I was like, I'm going to want to revisit this one at the end of the year. This, I do my weekly best new metal albums of the week show, and I do 40 of those a year.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Right. So sometimes the number one album of the week is like, but that one, I was like, that I'm going to come back to this one. This one is so good. I know that I'm going to come back to it.
Do you ever have you ever had maybe in the same week, there was 2 albums that were like fighting for 1 and 2?
Yes.
And then maybe at the end of the year, you were like, I actually like number 2 now. If I look back, better than number 1.
Yeah, my number 2 pick. That week I called it my 1A and 1B. We'll get there.
All right, yeah.
Number 4, I was stoked that you picked this one, Yotuma, The Final Void, which came out September 12th, and I think these guys are from Wisconsin. As soon as I saw that on your list, I was like, oh yeah, that record does rule.
Yeah. That one is another one I listened to later. When did it come out? September, right? Yeah. So I probably didn't listen to it for like a month or something. Because again, we had listened to so much shit, and I knew you had thought highly of it at the time. So I was like, I'm going to check this one out. And then, immediately I was like, I mean, a lot of it is like the mid tempo stuff is just like, but it's so heavy, and the riffs are just like crushing. Like it's brutal and it's sinister sounding, but like somehow fun at the same time. Like if that even makes sense, I don't even know. But I mean, I guess you have to be a weirdo who loves death metal to call something like that fun. But it feels fun. Like when you're listening, you're like, this is disgusting, but I love it. It makes me happy too. Which again, maybe that says more about my brain than anything else. But it's like it's got that good mix of like the OSDM, the old school shit, but also feeling modern at the same time. It kind of, I don't know, kind of feels like both. And it's just, it's relentless the whole time, but it's got groove, and it's got a little bit of, everybody gets a little bit of shine on the album. You hear the bass playing, the guitars are heavy, you get the drums, the vocals. So like everyone gets their moment to shine, which I always love. Being a former bass player, when you get to hear some bass have a little bit of, a little bit of something, I'm always a fan of that.
Yeah, that record, 2 things stood out to me. The first one is it's the opening of the record. It starts with this build, and then it does the false chord roar, which a billion death metal records do. But it was so lively. It got me so hype.
Yeah.
And even though I've heard it a billion times, it's like they just did it so well. It got me so pumped. I was like, see, that's different. That magic sauce. And I've said this a lot about death metal. Like, death metal is pretty simple. I can describe it to you. It's chug chug, scale run, blast beat.
I'm gonna kill you
about death. That's death metal. Like it's, and a million bands do it, but the ones that do it where it grabs you, I can't tell you what it is. I can't describe it so easily, what that magic sauce is, but Yotuma's got it.
That's the thing is, you like some of these bands like Yotuma in this new album. It's like, why does this stick out to you and I, who both of us love this album? Why does it stick out more than, the other 5,000 death metal albums that came out this year? Obviously, however many, like just,
it might have been 5,000.
Yeah, fuck, I don't know. It's that secret sauce that you can't put your finger on it, but some bands just have it. And Yotuma has it on this album anyways. Like this is the type of band, like this album is like, if you were coming to pick me up in your car and we were going wherever, and I got in the car with you and you said, hey man, what do you want to listen to? And my answer was like, John, just fuck me up. This is what I would expect you to put on if that was my answer. Like, this is what I want to hear. Just fuck me up. Put on this Yotuma album because it's awesome.
Yeah. The other thing, you talked about how it's fun, and it would take like a really depraved death metal fan like you and me to find something like this fun. One of the song titles is Sphincter Dremel.
I thought about that one too, and I was like, I don't even know what Dremel is, but it got to be gross.
So it's this little electric hand tool, and it's got a rotary on the end, and you can put different things on the end. Like you can put a drill, you can put like a sanding disc, a cutting wheel, so whatever it is you put on the end is gonna not be pleasant on the old sphincter.
I think I know where it's going. That's good.
Well, that's a good one to close on that one.
Yeah, I think we're done with Yotuma. Cheers, boys. And girls, actually, I think the bass player is a woman. So, and ladies, cheers.
Oh, she might have wrote those lyrics. My number 4 was Pathogenic, Crowned in Corpses. This came out February the 7th. and it was my number one album of the week that week from Massachusetts. This one, like you talked about with Yotuma, it's that nice mix of the old school, like guttural death metal with like a modern flavor. It's kind of genty, like that comes with a little bit of baggage. It's
right
not like top. It's not like bow wow genty, like the most absurd examples of it, like, you know, late 2010s YouTube gent, but it does have that 7-string sort of modern vibe to the riffs. I would describe it like if Cannibal Corpse and Meshuggah went together.
Like, which is funny because they just toured together.
That's right.
But that was the first thing I thought when I turned, because that first song, like that first riff on that first song is like super genty. And I was like, my first thought was like, fuck you, John, this is a gent record. What are you talking? Like this, and obviously, you know, it changes up, but that was my first thought. Cause it was just like, I was like, this is gent. This is, you know, something else.
Death metal.
Yeah. I was like, God damn it.
You said I couldn't pick 1914 and you picked this gent bullshit.
Everyone's good. All the commenters, where's Hooded Menace in 1914? He's got fucking gent on here. But like, yeah, I don't know. And then also like even a little, like some of the breakdowns are so heavy that it's like almost deathcore-ish a little bit at times. Not, you know, there's certain negative connotations with any of the core genres, but like there is good deathcore out there. You did your video on it, you know, so it's got good shit. They even sprinkle in a little like clean vocals from time to time on a couple of the tracks, which is, again, we're talking about death metal here, John. Clean vocals, come on. But
as long as it's just a sprinkle.
Minimal. It's just a sprinkle. It's very minimal. I don't even know how many tracks it actually comes up on, but no, it's good. It's heavy. And
the breakdowns aren't just like the same off time zeros and ones. Like deathcore, exactly. There's actual riffs there, but very deathcore-y in that it has like those sci-fi soundscapes. Yeah. But it also has like legitimate screaming lead guitar.
Oh yeah.
And that one, you know, of course, going to make me nerd out. So you're number 3. And again, when I saw this on your list, I was like, hell yeah, dude. Necro Lick. This was also a number 1 album of the week for me back in April 18th. These guys are Swedish. You seem to like your Swedish death metal. And, so another one of those ones that's got the secret sauce.
It does. This album is so good. And it's like, okay, so it's got the HM2 shit, the buzzsaw chainsaw guitars. And it's like, it immediately reminded me. So full disclosure, like one of my probably top 3 death metal albums of all time is Like an Ever-Flowing Stream by Dismember. I love that album. And this just reminded me of that, like kind of pretty quickly. I mean, right off the bat, I was like, holy fuck, this sounds like, you know, Dismember. And like, I was just into it. It's catchy. It's hooky. This is like, you know, we're talking about the stereotypical death metal with the death and the gore.
This is the gory one.
This is the gory one. This is the gross one. You know, Morgrat and some of the songs. Worms inside.
I wrote down Morgrat because it's got like lyric. Like I remember it's like, is he talking about semen?
The last song is called Rotten Inferno, I think. And in my head, just jokingly, you know, in my head, I was like, maybe this is a really positive song. They're just, you know, there's an old rotten house and they're burning it down and rising from the ashes. Then I listened to the song and I was like, that's not what it's about. Choke yourself while you stroke yourself is what he said. So I was like, I guess that's not what this song's about, but it's still a lot of fun.
This is one of those like misogynistic, gory death metal records. And people get it confused because I've talked in the past about misogynistic death metal. And it's like, I'm not like, if you've got a song about killing a chick, that doesn't bother me.
Right.
If all of your songs, you know, you've got like 8 records in your catalog and every single one of them is violence against women. I'm like, hey man,
if it's a recurring theme, there might be some issues.
But like, I mean, it's death metal. People are going to get killed. Right. And a lot of them are going to be women. It doesn't bother me. It's just, there's like 2 or 3 bands where I'm like, yo, like,
Yeah.
Y'all are really into this.
like I don't know. It's one of those, like, early Cannibal Corpse had what she was asking for it, and
Right.
effed with a fucked with a knife, and all those stuff. A lot of like graphic stuff, but like Alex Webster has said it 100 times, right? Like it's a whole, like, people watch horror movies and nobody thinks like, is trying to take them to court and shit like that, or calling, or thinks that the people who make the horror movies are actually killing people or raping women or doing whatever. And Alex Webster's like, we don't want to do those things ever. Those things are abhorrent, but we're writing horror music. It's
that
like a
one
horror
guitar
movie,
player might have Pat.
Pat had some. Isn't he an ex-hoarder now?
Yeah, he's an ex-hoarder now. He's doing good. These are just jokes. I'm very happy for Pat.
Yeah, it's like I think he turned it around. He had some issues, but he's doing all right now. But yeah, I mean, look, it has its place. I mean, it's kind of how it started, like death with zombie apocalypse and stuff like that. It started gory. I mean, unless you're one of those that think Seven Churches was the first death album. Who cares? Or death metal album, but who cares? Zombie apocalypse is kind of like, the first quote unquote, like full, just that death metal sound. And it was called zombie fucking apocalypse. Like it's not, no, it wasn't. Anyways, Scream Bloody Gore, but Scream Bloody Gore. I was thinking of Mortician because I'm wearing the shirt. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, the genre was just kind of born out of that. So obviously there's going to be a lot of that stuff, and it's fantasy. It's not real. It's, hopefully it's just, it is what it is. It's fun. If you can take it, enjoy it for what it is, and not take it literally like some psychopath, like fucking, then it's, you just have fun with it. It's good. It's fun. It makes you laugh. When I see a funny song title, it just makes me laugh, like Dick Fillet by Sanguisuga Bug. That shit's hilarious. Yeah. Like, it's funny, and the song's disgusting, but like, it's fun. Just enjoy it. It's good.
Yeah. So, most of the time I don't even notice the lyrics because it's just,
Yeah. That's it too.
The Yotuma record has a lot of like pig grunts in it, not the squeals, but the pig grunts.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have no idea what he's saying. So then on this Necro album, I'm like just grooving to it, and I go, wait a minute. I'm drenched in slime, a mixture of secretions, semen and grime. Did he just talk about semen?
Yeah.
Certain words will just pop out.
Exactly. That choke yourself while you stroke yourself line just came out. I was just enjoying the song, and then I heard that, and I was like, whoa. That's a good one. But like, yeah, it's just, just have a good, but I'm the same, like with the vocals. Sometimes I don't even always I always, because, my mom will be like, I don't even know what he's saying.
I don't either.
Yeah. That's what I say. I was like, I don't know what he's fucking saying either. But like, unless I'm reading along with the lyrics, but like, for me, like the vocals in death metal and black metal, it's almost like another instrument, it's part of a rhythmic
instrument to me with some melody.
Exactly.
My number 3, and any other year, this might have been a number 1. I love this band. It's no secret. I'm a huge fanboy of this band. There's like my I can't remember if it was 2021 or 2022 riff of the year. Baest with Colossal. That one came out on August 15th, was, of course, my number 1 album that week. I just think Baest is the grooviest and the most fun death metal band that's amongst this new crop, this new generation. They really started out as like kind of bolt thrower worship. Yeah. And then that riff I alluded to earlier, that's from the song Ecclesia. That's a very Opeth sounding riff. But with Colossal, I think that they really have started to explore new territory while simultaneously locking down the Baest sound. So I don't compare them to Bolt Thrower as much anymore. I don't compare them to Opeth as much anymore. And now they are doing this like trad metal thing, but death metal. It's like 80s metal riffs, but just so much attitude, so much heaviness and groove. Like, I don't think another death metal band could pull off the sort of trad metal that they've done here.
No. And this one's a funny one for me, because like, when this album first came out, when did you say it came out? August?
Yeah, the 15th.
So like when it came out, I saw before I listened to it, I had seen your review. I had seen a couple of the, other YouTubers talk about it. And like, so on paper, it's like from what I was hearing, I was like, oh, I'm gonna love this. This is gonna be the best fucking album. I'm so excited. And then when I listened to it, this is my fault. So when I listened to it, for whatever reason, because of those like explanations, excuse me, I was picturing like literally Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, but with death metal vocals. Like I was just thinking, like I'm going to listen to the Trooper and Number of the Beast right now, but a death metal guy's going to be singing it. And obviously, that's not, not quite what it is, obviously. So I think at that time, I had just like hyped this thing up, thinking like I'm going to love the shit out of this album. This is going to be the best thing I've ever heard. So my expectations were like so sky high before I even listened to it that it didn't live up at the time, and I was like, fuck. And I was like, I don't even think I really like this. But it was my own fault. So then when you sent me your list last week or whenever, and I saw this on there, I was like, oh man, I don't really remember this being like as good as I thought it was going to be. So this time I listened to it with zero expectations. Fucking love it. Love it. It was just one of those. I think for some reason, I twisted everybody's words in my head, thinking it was going to be this like, just full on trad metal, like Iron Maiden, guitar shred fest, the whole thing. And there is a lot of that in there, but like, I don't know. I think I just built it up in my head the first time. And then this time when I listened to it, not expecting anything, I loved it. I loved it way more. Like, I think it's awesome.
Yeah. It's less Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and more like Jakey Lee era Ozzy.
Yeah.
Like some AC/DC in there, like a very rock and roll
right
sort of trad metal.
Yeah, it's the rock stuff. It's got those riffs, and like I love like whatever that second last song. That's like the instrumental one is just great and leads into that awesome last song. Yeah, I ended up liking it way more the second time. I think, excuse me, because I don't know, I built up the wrong thing in my head, and it's like, which just goes to show you kids, anybody watching, like always go back and give something another shot, because sometimes you're just maybe not on the right headspace and you get it wrong the first time because. I knew other people loved it and I built it up, got it wrong, went back a couple months later, and now I think it's great too. It's deservedly on this list because it's cool as shit too. It's different.
Cool, like, you don't hear death metal like that. Description of it too. Like, that's a very old school, like sort of standard description that you would say about something. You say, oh yeah, that's cool. But like, it cool. Really is like cool. Like, those are cool guys that they did this thing, that they embraced, like he's not like, oh, we're trying to do our own thing. He's like, no, I love Jakey Lee. I was learning a Jakey Lee riff and I wrote this riff. Like he says so the only other death metal band that I've heard pull off that trad metal sound is Horrendous, which was my album of the year that year. But they do it so much differently. That's like a very Dio sounding, and it's very progressive. It's like way more like classic metal than this is. This is like fun, like a bunch of fun-loving Danish dudes drinking beer, slamming cheeseburgers, and just playing the funnest riffs that they can.
Exactly. I don't want to say like, I feel like it's a negative connotation to say it's like a fucking Motley Crue record, but death metal, but it's like, it's kind of like got that vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds like they're having a good time. Whereas like Horrendous, again, I think that's a fantastic,
highbrow, like compositional masterminds. And I love it. I love the nerdiness of it.
I love it too. And it's more darker, right? It's kind of more sinister feel to it, whereas this is just full on like, let's have a good time.
And when you said Motley Crue, I laughed because that very first riff, I called it the AC/DC riff. The opening of this record is 100% an AC/DC riff. But when the heavy part kicks in, he hits this guitar slide, and that's such a Motley Crue move. I didn't even think about that.
That's Mick Mars right there.
All right, let's go to your number 2. All right, I am so glad that you picked this one, and I think this is probably the one you thought I would have picked as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And it totally would have. Like, if I was doing a top 10, it would be on the list for sure. I love this record. It was a highlight of the year for me, so I'm so stoked that you picked it. One of the reasons, I think I said this in the intro, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this with you is because I knew we would pick different stuff. I always do a top 5 for every genre at the end of the year, but death metal has been top 10, top 15, because like we said, there's just been so much great death metal. And this is at the top of the list, the legends. Cryptopsy with An Insatiable Violence, your fellow Canuckers.
Yes, sir.
Dropped on June 20th. And I mean, you can't talk about the great death metal bands without talking about Cryptopsy.
Cryptopsy's in there. Like they have to be in there. None So Vile is like a, classic, one of the greatest death metal records of all time. Everybody knows it. Everybody agrees. And it's funny because Cryptopsy, like, they kind of had their like down period, whereas it almost seemed like they were going to wash away, like with the sands of time. They had a couple of not so nice albums or whatever, or, people didn't like as much in the 2000s
just
or whatever.
Didn't live up to None So Vile. Yeah. And that's tough.
That is tough. And it's tough to be beholden to that for the rest of your career, especially when it's your second album, like is this masterpiece, death metal masterpiece. And now everyone's just like, you have to do it again. You have to do it again. You can't, like, you can't do that again. Like and you probably don't want to, you're trying to push yourself, but you don't want to make the same fucking thing all the time. When Matt joined the band as the vocalist, like, it was almost like they kind of slowly started to, like, they had those EPs in the mid 2010s, right? The what were they called? The Book of Suffering, like the part 1 and the part 2. And it's like they slowly started to like come back, and it was like they had those EPs that were a couple years apart, and they were awesome. Everybody's like, "Oh shit, this is awesome!" But like, let's see if they can do it over a full album. And then COVID hit, so it took forever. But eventually, we got As Gomorrah Burns in 2023, and like that was one of my favorite albums of 2020. Yes. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I was blown away because I didn't expect it at all to be like that good. Even though the Book of Suffering EPs were awesome, I just didn't expect that it to be like that good. So this time going into this new album, Insatiable Violence, I was like, this time was the opposite. I was like, this is, where you're going to get yourself into that overhyped thing like I did with the Baest album the first time, because but I didn't doubt it ever. I was like, this is going to be awesome. And it was fucking awesome. Like, man, it's just the 4 of them too, right? Vocalist, 1 guitarist, 1 bassist. Obviously, that's not abnormal.
I think there is a band with 2 bass players. I can't remember what they're called, but
I'm sure there's some funky weird shit out there with, didn't Spinal Tap go on stage with all bass players at like Live Aid or something back in the day?
But, yeah, honestly, I think I like As Gomorrah Burns better, but that's not a slight on this record. That's just praise for how good As Gomorrah is. And they've turned around really quick. This is like their fastest turnaround since their early days.
Yeah, less than 2 years.
I think conceptually, I like this album better because this one's about social media, basically.
Yeah, because you interviewed Matt, right? And he was kind of talking about...
He talked about he had a dream where this guy built a machine that tortured him, and he would get in it and just get this pleasure from being tortured by this machine. And then he would get up every day and like tinker with it and improve it so that it could torture him more and he could get more pleasure. And then that became like the metaphor for social media. And I was like, that is such a like Hellraiser, like the most death metal thing I've heard in my life. And how can you not love that?
Say, that's death metal, folks. Right? That's it right there. That's the kind of shit we think about. The weird stuff. But yeah, I agree. I do still think I like As Gomorrah a little bit better, but like that's, like you said, not a knock on this album. I still have it as my second favorite death metal album this year. And that's, I don't know. They keep finding, I think they said they wrote most of this album while they were like touring As Gomorrah Burns. So like they were probably still in, because it is like, it feels
like the logical next step.
Yes, exactly. It feels like a sequel, but not like a shitty sequel. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you said, logical next step. It was just like it's like, I think Autopsy, like they write like 2 records at once, right? That's why the last like 4 albums they put out the one, and then the very next year the second one comes out, because they kind of write so many songs at once. And I don't think that's what this was, obviously, but it just seemed like they were just in that mode. And haven't come off of like a fucking fantastic album, and they're touring it, so they're playing all those songs, so they're just, they have all that hype already in them, and man, it just came out so good. Like there was no, and I like that. I think Matt said when you interviewed him that he's been kind of trying to drive the band, like now that they're kind of on this high kick, which is awesome.
Make hay while the sun's out.
Yeah, like he's like, let's go, let's keep going, let's stay on tour, let's keep writing great shit, because they are on a high right now. Like if you're a death metal fan, first of all, you obviously know who Cryptopsy is if you're a death metal fan, but even if you're like a young death metal fan who maybe didn't know None So Vile or Blasphemy, any of those old albums, like now you fucking know them, because As Gamora Burns was one of the best albums of 2023. This is one of the best albums of 2025. Like they're hot.
Now, you asked me earlier if I've ever had a week where it's like 1A, 1B. So my number 2 this year definitely had that. So Tribal Gaze in Vain Brilliance dropped on October 17th. And it's like no secret, I've picked these guys before. One of my favorite new death metal bands coming out of Texas. That week, I actually had them number 2, but I said on the episode, I said, this is like, it's not number 2. It's 1B. Because 1A was an Abstract Illusion, which is, I'm a prog nerd. I'm gonna. But,
I know.
So it just depends on the day. Like if I'm into something like real nerdy, like if I just want to get my music theory boner on, then I'm gonna listen to something like an Abstract Illusion. And then like on a day where I'm just like, I want to like get real like knuckle dragging.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to listen to Tribal Gaze, like, and I'm going to like it more on that day. So it just would have just depended on how I was feeling that week. But
yeah,
to me, there's this group of the new generation of death metal bands. And I would say American death metal bands, but I'm going to include Fulci in this list as well, who are Italian,
their album kicked ass last year.
Absolutely, one of my favorites. But it's Tribal Gaze, it's 200 Stab Wounds, Frozen Soul, Undeath, Fulci. This group of guys is like the tip of the spear for this generation of death metal when it comes to just gnarly, knuckle dragging, like pure death metal, no frills, and just the grooviest. Like, all of these dudes were Pantera fans, like just the grooviest, and Bolt Thrower fans, obviously. Just these guys up, like I talk about groove all the time with death metal because it's one of the things that I value, but like these guys are the grooviest.
It is for me too. The groove, man, you have to have, that's like for the uninitiated who think we're insane for listening to death metal. And not even just because of the lyrics or the vocals, but because like the music itself is just so heavy and crazy. And how can you guys listen to that? It's so abrasive, but it's like, it's because it's got groove. Like some people, my son's 2 years old. He likes to dance when a kid's car commercial comes on, because it's a funny little jingle, but that's how I want to move when a fucking death metal song comes on. Like it hits you in a different way. Like there's just something that's impossible to just like describe normally, but just those bands that have that groove, like you said, kind of like, you mix, like, it's like if Pantera and Cannibal Corpse were the same band and they just have this like this groovy section, but it's also just like knuckle dragging, like you said, like just fucking dirty, just grimy, just man, I don't know, that kind of stuff is just, it's hard to describe. One other band I would have said, those 5 that you said, although until maybe that last album, was Gatecreeper. I love those first 2 Gatecreeper albums.
They're starting to get a little nerdy, which is not a complaint,
not bad,
but just it excludes them from this group.
Yes, because the last album was basically a mellow death album.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think they were a mellow death band before that. What do you call it? That little, like, I don't know if it was an EP or an album or not, but like that one short album that they kind of came out with, it had like the first 7 songs were all like 1 minute long, and then they had the one last song that was basically death doom. That was cool as shit. I love that. It was like grindcore and death doom combined. But like that last album was like full on mellow death. So what are you gonna do?
We'll let Tombstoner take their spot and call it 6 bands.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So you talk about wanting to move, like that is my number one gauge for judging all music, is if it makes my head move involuntarily. Now there's different head movements for different kinds of music. Like classical will make me kind of lean if I like it. And then, hip hop's got the head nod. Well, the death metal that I love makes my head move and my face contort in the exact same way that, like, if you watch a funk band, if you watch their bass player, when he gets bass face, that's the kind of death metal that I like. And I would count Tribal Gaze.
Just scrunch up your face and just start, like, that's just automatically just like, oh fuck, that's dirty. But probably the way like normal people feel like when they're getting a blowjob, but for us it's a good death metal riff.
You remind me of Arnold talking about pumping irons. I'm just all the time coming.
The greatest feeling you can get in the gym, or the most satisfying feeling you can get in the gym, is the pump. Let's say you train your biceps. Blood is rushing into your muscles, and that's what we call the pump. Your muscles get a really tight feeling, like your skin is going to explode any minute. It's really tight. It's like somebody blowing air into your muscle. It just blows up, and it feels different. It feels fantastic. It's as satisfying to me as coming is, as having sex with a woman and coming. So can you believe how much I'm in heaven? I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up. When I pose out in front of 5,000 people, I get the same feeling. So I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right?
It's so good to be me, just listening to metal all the time. So it's just like I'm always coming.
Yeah, exactly. Nonstop.
I find this really interesting, your number one pick, because I also really loved this album, but I don't know that I would have picked it number one. So I really am interested to hear why you did. And Scott's number one, Scalpture with Landkrieg on March 7th. Now, I'm a novice German speaker, so Landkrieg.
I was going to say,
is
I might need some of your help with some of the
war. And you can put that together because everybody knows what Blitzkrieg is. It's like a fast attack. So Landkrieg, land war. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like another one of those, speaking of 1914, like World War I themed death metal albums.
So this album lyrically is all based on like the 30 Years War, which was like happened in like the 17th century. I think like 1618 to 1648, the 30 Years War in Central Europe. So like lyrically, which obviously they're German, so Central Europe, obviously this was in their area, so it's their history. So that's thematically what it's like. But I love this album. The reason it's my number one is it was the album that we've said it a couple times here today, that it's that secret sauce that you can't really describe. I don't know what it was, but when I turned it on the first time, I think I messaged you way back in like April when it came out, and I said I fucking love this album, because you reviewed it and I read your review and I was like, okay. And also like the album art caught me. If album art catches me, I'm always going to, sounds like a stupid reason, but like, wow. But I was like, gosh, that looks cool. And John really liked it. So I'm going to try this album. And for whatever reason, just all year long, it's the one that's just stuck with me. It's been in my head. I'll go back and listen to it. It's the one, it's like one of those albums where like, I do make the time to carve out like once every week or two to throw it on. And I just, from like the cavernous vocals, that it's got like atmosphere, but I feel like the atmosphere is like created by the instrumentation as opposed to like throwing in like, eerie, tracks, keyboards, whatever. It's like, no, it's like they're making it. It sounds like you feel like you're in a war. It's heavy as shit. Like the gang vocals that they throw in sometimes I like that Tillier at Undergong. Also, the other good cool thing is like they're German, but so like most foreign language bands, like they'll either like just go full English or they'll go full whatever country they're from, whatever their language is. Excuse me. Whereas these guys, like it was like it's like half and half. Like half the album is like got English titles. The other half of the album's got German titles. I thought that was kind of cool. But like one of my favorite songs all year long is Hell's Choir's Chant. Like that song it's like an earworm, just gets stuck in my head. And that's the reason I couldn't get this album out of my head. It's got variety and tempo, it's got the fast, break you down, beat you to death kind of German tank rolling over you songs, but it's also got those, mid tempo, which I guess would be more a tank because tanks are slow, but mid tempo, just heavy as fuck riffs that I just love a good riff. I love a good riff. And it just like, it doesn't have to be this like technical wankery all the time. There's a place for that kind of stuff, but sometimes a simple riff with the right production, with the right, just hitting right is so much more. It's so much more effective to me. Just a good ass heavy riff hits you so much harder than a lot of other things. It doesn't have to be full speed. It doesn't have to be technical as shit. It doesn't have to be pristine on the production, which this is good production, but I'm just saying this is just one of those albums that just got every little part of it stuck with me. Certain songs in particular, like, Into Catastrophe and Till Yard Undergong and Hell's Choir's Chant specifically, like those are my songs probably off the album, but the whole album that's why it's number one. I can't describe it. It's got stuck in my brain. I couldn't get it out. I love it. I listened to it all year long. So it's number one. How can it not be number one?
I like the word you use to describe it, effective, because that to me definitely is a good way to talk about the choices that they made on this record. They do a lot. You talked about how they build an atmosphere without orchestra, without synth. 100% agreed. They build a lot of tension before the heavy part hits.
Yeah.
And that makes the heavy part, as you said, effective.
Yeah.
So I think they're real masters at that. And they can take if another band played that same riff, it probably wouldn't be as heavy because they wouldn't lead into it as cleverly as Scalpture did.
It's the tension. It's a war album. It's about a war. I think that 30 Years War 2 was like one of the, it had the most casualties of like any war ever or something like that. But like the death toll was insane. I think Germany at the time, or maybe, I don't know if they were Germany at that time, Prussia, whatever it was, like lost like 50% of its population in that war, which is obviously mass casualties. So you kind of like feel that in the album. You feel that tension that leads up to the war, the battles, the choruses, whatever it is. Like they were like masterful at just like creating that. And I know they've got a few previous albums. I got to dive in. I haven't done that yet, but like, so this was my first go around with Scalpture, and like, yeah, of course I'm going to dive into the back catalog when I have time. But I don't know. This is just that album that got me on every level, like emotional, the feeling, the fact that just stuck in my head. I could listen. It didn't matter the time of day I put it on. Like my mood didn't matter. Like I loved this album every time I listened to it. So it just had to be number one.
Well, that's why I wanted you on this show, because I knew I could count on you to pick something different than me. My number one is going to be very predictable. And I know right now everybody's thinking, oh, this motherfucker's he's thinking to pick Rivers of Nile. Nope. I'm not picking Rivers of Nile, not because I'm not a huge Rivers of Nile fanboy, but because I don't think they qualify as a pure death metal band anymore. We will cover Rivers of Nile later in Album of the Year season, but my favorite death metal album this year was Allegaeon, the Ossuary Lens, which dropped in April out of Colorado. And my boy Greg Burgess is, to me, it's him and it's Scott Carstairs from Fallujah, the two favorite guitar players in technical death metal. And to me, that it makes sense because of all the technical death metal bands, I think Allegaeon and Fallujah are the most pleasing to my ears. They're the most musical, because a lot of technical death metal bands are so fast and so technical that they have to play with such efficiency in order to play that fast that it limits the sort of melodies that they can play. When you're playing at 400 BPM or whatever, you can't do a lot of string skipping. You know, you have to do mostly like all ascending, all descending, just for efficiency's sake. You can't play that fast if your hand's all over the place. Allegaeon, Fallujah, their technical death metal doesn't rely on speed and just look at how awesome of players we are. They're much more musical while still being extraordinarily heavy and the most interesting lead guitar playing in the genre to me. And this year I'm picking Allegaeon because, I mean, the songs, and then the one that really just blew me away was Dark Matter Dynamics, which has an acoustic guitar, and then the technical death metal, which is something you don't hear very often. So
that's funny that you brought that part up, because that one was stuck in my brain too. But like, so my whole thing was like, this is a fantastic album, obviously. But I was like, when I saw it on your list and at number 1, I was like, is this a death metal album?
Yeah, it's a technical death metal album. It's technically a death metal album.
Well said. But for me, it's like, first of all, again, I'm just saying this because I'm being a dick, but because the album is fucking great. But like, it seems it feels a little more metalcore to me, kind of. If you were asked, if it was like my opinion, I would have had this on the metalcore list. Just because, you know, it's got clean vocals too, lots of clean vocals. When I think death metal, I don't think clean vocals ever. And I'm not knocking clean vocals because that's fine. I love traditional heavy metal, and you know, there's great metal. It's nothing to do with that. It's just like once I hear clean vocals in my brain, it just clicks like, this isn't death metal anymore. And maybe I'm completely wrong and an idiot, but like, so that's just where I go. But the album itself, regardless of that crap, is great. And I thought of like that song too, Dark Matter. What is it? Dark Matter, whatever it was.
Dynamics.
Like, but it's funny because I was like, this is amazing. I love this. But also at the same time thinking, John, this is a death metal album with acoustic guitar. What are we talking? Is this a death metal album?
I got nerdy with it. Yeah.
I was like, this is a 1-minute acoustic guitar intro. This is supposed to be a death metal. But like, it's amazing. Then it's got the acoustic, I think, again in like the interlude or the bridge of the song. But yeah, it's next level stuff. Obviously, the songwriting is, I mean, that's all I can say. Fart noise with my mouth. Like it's
mind blowing. And
it's stuff that, you know, my dumbass brain couldn't conceive.
Dude, I felt the same way when I listened to it. I was like, how do you write something like this? Now you said that it sounded to you like metalcore, and
just certain parts.
I think some people would be quite upset by that. But in your defense, metalcore is a huge umbrella. And the stuff that counts as metalcore today is not what Killswitch Engage was.
Right.
I would say, yeah, like there's something about that like more melodic death metal inspired metalcore from the early 2000s that does sort of ring reminiscent here with this Allegaeon record. It's got that very melodic, super heavy, but then like the big choruses, it's got that vibe to it.
And that's what I'm saying, because honestly, like because I don't really listen to metalcore and deathcore all that much, like, excuse me, I'm not up to date on like the new metalcore, I guess you'd say. Like Killswitch Engage, I'm glad that's the band you said, because like that's the band that I listened to them all the time, because I was in like high school and college when like their big records were coming out. So like I loved all that old Killswitch Engage stuff. I still think it's great. So like that's what I mean. That's the metalcore I'm thinking of when I say it. Although it's like if Killswitch Engage was like obviously they don't have the same amount of clean vocals that Killswitch Engage has, Allegaeon, but also like if Killswitch Engage was like a just full on like technical, because obviously, you know, Killswitch Engage is much more on the melodic side as opposed to the death metal side, which Allegaeon does have the death metal. It is in there, obviously. And so when I say deathcore, sorry people if I, you know, triggered you there, but or metalcore, whatever the fuck I said. And but that's just kind of because when it's really just you hear the clean vocals, some of the more melodic parts, and the fucking acoustic song. So I'm like, oh, this is more like metalcore than death metal. That's the only reason, I think that. But like, it's still a fantastic album. It doesn't matter what genre. Who cares what genre it is? Honestly, when something's that good, call it whatever the fuck you want. Call it polka. It's great. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, this one could go on my upcoming episode about the best prog albums of the year. It could maybe be in there. I don't think it's prog. I just think it's like very technical, but I could hear the argument for it. And I don't think anybody that listens to this show hasn't heard the album, but if you haven't, when we talk about the acoustic, like this isn't like strummy, like, oh, so nice campfire acoustic.
It's not campfire shit.
It's very technical and energetic acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Like when the heavy guitars jump in, like it doesn't seem out of place.
No, the transitions are great. Like it seamlessly transitions like right into the next, part, like from the acoustic shit into the heavy stuff. These guys are masters at their craft, obviously. So don't think it's some campfire sing along kind of jerk off party. It's good shit. And
Greg is such a amazing guitar player. Like, I'm kind of over the traditional guitar solo because I've heard a million of them. So when I hear like somebody like Scott Carstairs that's doing something like really different on the guitar, like that excites me. Like when I hear Scott play, like I know it's him immediately within a second and a half. I know it's him. Greg is playing like very heavy metal guitar solos that despite that bias that I have of being over them, his are so exciting that it overcomes that barrier in my mind. I go, damn, that's a fucking good guitar solo.
Yeah. It still catches you. It still drags you in.
Yeah. It's not like, again, I complained about the other tech death bands. It's not like really fast for fast sake. Look at my amazing technique. Like it's got feel to it. And I mean, there's nothing else to say after that. That's why I like this record. It's got a lot of feel to it, even though it's a technical death metal album.
Yeah. I mean, it's fast and vicious, but it's got that feeling. It's got that something that makes it not just show off, look what I can do, bullshit. It's got feeling, it's got groove, but it's still fast. It's still vicious. It's still death metal, despite me calling it metalcore. It is still death metal and it's still awesome. So worthy number one.
All right. Before we close, the last episode was my favorite thrash metal albums of the year. I'm going to put you on the spot. I didn't prepare you for this one. What was your favorite thrash metal album this year?
Oh, fuck. You did get me there. Honestly, it's like, it's a lame answer, but it was your number one too. The Testament album was the best one.
It's not lame at all. That record rules. I can't.
And it's just like, you're going to say, like, people are going to be like, oh, he's just saying it because the only one he could think of. And I have had a little bit to drink tonight, so it's not completely wrong. But but like that album is fucking. I mean, I don't know how that. Chuck Billy is amazing, by the way. Like,
and Alex is too.
Yeah, and Alex too. Obviously, I just mean like Chuck Billy's voice. I love it. It's my favorite. Like he can do like that classic like thrash metal 80s thrash metal voice, but now he's doing like he's hanging with all the kids, guest vocaling on death metal records and shit nowadays. And you don't miss a beat. He sounds like a death metal vocalist and a thrash metal vocalist. Like that guy can do it all. And Alex Skolnick, obviously. Steve DiGiorgio, greatest bass player on the fucking earth. I got to see him. I got to see him live last year when they were doing the Death tour, or Death to All, and which is like basically the Death Death Without Chuck kind of thing. And man, live, holy fuck, that guy can. He was playing a 3-string bass like for half the set, which I didn't even know was a thing. And
I didn't either.
All fretless, because he's the fretless wonder, right? He switched between the 5-string and the 3-string throughout the night. Anyways, yeah, Testament, like that's the answer. What else?
It blew me away. I mean, if you would have told me a couple of years ago that Testament would be my favorite thrash metal record in 2025, I wouldn't have believed that. I'd have been no. There's all these hot, fresh, young bands now. Man, Testament brought it this year.
They did. Their last couple albums have all been solid. Like they're just, man, I don't know. It's kind of like, and they're not even nearly as old, but like as Judas Priest, they keep their last 2 albums. They're just like, those guys are in their fucking 70s and they're still kicking balls in. Like I don't know how they do it, but man, it's awesome. It's awesome that, because not all of the, I don't know, quote unquote legacy bands, whatever you want to call them, the bands that have been around since the 80s or longer, are putting out albums that are that awesome.
Agreed. A few years ago, I wouldn't have thought that it was possible.
No.
You've got a couple of bands that are like proving me wrong.
Yeah. And that's almost it's in a different way, but it's almost as exciting as like the new awesome bands, because you're seeing these fucking guys that you grew up with still got it. They can still hang. And that's exciting. That's cool to see, because there's a lot of them that can. There's a lot of them that can.
We've kind of gotten used to our favorite bands not putting out their best records anymore.
And we kind of become complacent and just accept it because it is what it is. And we can still listen to their 80s and 90s shit and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then when you get a Testament or a Judas Priest or whoever that still bringing it now in 2025, fuck yeah, sign me up.
Oh. Well, thanks so much, Scott. It was a blast. I would say I'll drink and talk metal with you anytime, but I don't do much drinking anymore and I work all the fucking time, but I definitely enjoyed it and I want to do it again.
Yeah, man. Honestly, thank you so much. I had a blast. I really, really appreciate you having me on and changing up your usual system that you have just for little old me or big old me. But, yeah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Your show is awesome. Like you always say, listen to philosophy, listen to metal. John loves you, motherfuckers.
Thanks, man.